All right, hello, and welcome to Popular Liberty. Yeah, tonight we're having a special series where we're going to have probably in 3 parts of, right now we're joined by John from Mind Your Business, and
what's up, yo?
we have something special. We have, for all you good libertarians out there, strategy, real strategy. Don't worry, we're not going to dump on libertarians too much.
No.
But
Maybe
yeah,
just enough.
yeah. Needless to say, the non-aggression principle is not in here. So
No, although it could be.
Well, it could be, but this is not methodology.
No, not at all.
Yeah, this is going to be fun tonight because this is a book you and I both have enjoyed. I've probably read at least 24 times. It's just every single time I read it, it's just one after just one thing after another. I'm like, oh, that's such a good point. And it's like, oh, that's so useful.
Yeah, dude.
And yeah, it's like I mean, what's your experience been with it?
So I read it for the first time when I was about 13, and I just kind of like,
oh, you started young.
I just kind of went through it and I was like, yeah, that's cool, but I didn't really, think much of it. But throughout my life since then, just, every once in a while, like a bell will go off like, oh shit, I read that, in the Art of War. But then, once that first started happening after I read it, then I just kind of was like, oh, maybe I should check this book out again. And I just continuously, go back to it every once in a while. But yeah, I
noticed that a lot of times I'll be speaking and I'll mention something on Twitter, kind of about strategy, and and I'll kind of realize, oh, did I just quote The Art of War? Do I need to go back and put that in quotation marks? I think I do. I can't have that. I can't have it said that I said that. But
yeah,
it's just one of the things that comes so natural. You've really, really you've learned it. And,
exactly. That's actually what I was
so applicable.
Right.
Go ahead.
The thing about it is like you quote it without even realizing it, and you might not even ever have read it. If you think strategically, chances are you're already kind of in the Art of War's wheelhouse. You just don't realize it yet. So I mean, especially for strategic thinkers already, if you haven't read it, I think it's definitely a must because it'll kind of put things together in a way that you'd already understand.
He has such a succinct way of putting it. It's just he can put a really complex thought in one sentence. And I might be sitting there trying to explain it in 3 or 4, and he just like 1, all done, and mic drop. And this is just amazing to hear. And it's like this has been like really, really formative for me. It's like I used to really, really love strategy games, and I had never. And I've going back because reading this after I got out of my video game phase. It's like that was I was like, oh, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this, one after another, and it's like it's so natural and intuitive, and it really helps to be able to kind of point to an authority who says this is actually a good strategy, this works.
Right, and it's been around for so long, and so many people use it in so many different avenues of life. It's like, yeah, of course this is. I mean, and that just proves how useful and successful the strategy is. That it's been thousands of years, and this thing's still been going around.
This thing is pretty well time tested.
Yeah, as most things that are worth reading are, right?
Yeah. And I think what I wanted to do tonight, we're going to read segment excerpts of like 1, 2, and of chapters 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
And I think I've got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 for 10 highlights for chapter 1. We run these by like chapter and verse, and I think like how many? Because you said you have highlights in yours too. Does yours have chapter and verse?
Does not have verse, just chapters. This copy. But yeah.
Yeah. All right. So where I'm reading first is I'm gonna skip that one first. Oh yeah, actually no, I really should. that basically the moral law, where he said, number 5 and 6 is that he says the moral law causes people to be in complete accord with the ruler, so that they will follow him regardless of their lives undismayed by any danger. And it's like that, because I always think, because libertarians, they like to argue from the high ground on the moral ground,
right?
And that seems to work pretty well.
It does, but as far as libertarians are concerned, the way that reads to me is that everybody that is trying to work together has the same moral law, has the same moral code, and there's a lot of things that libertarians just don't agree on. So basically you're starting from a bad foundation, in my opinion. And you really need to solidify what it is. I mean, I know there's like the NAP and all that kind of stuff, but you really got to get together and be like, okay, this is how we are. In order
but that's the essence of good leadership, because a good leader will put that out and say, this is the line, this is what we're doing, and it's like, this is not a debate. You need to have this, because this is the sort of thing you need to have in your general, is the guy who can command the moral law, and the emphasis not on the moral law but on command.
Correct.
Because he goes in and he talks about, hey, there are 5 things that you really need for victory. 1 is the moral law, 2 is heaven on your side, 3 is earth on your side, 4 is the commander. You need a good commander, and 5 is method and discipline. And exactly. I think that we can see right away, method and discipline. It's like that's where they're messing up. Because they've got the moral law on their side, but they just have no method, no discipline. We're just going to all go in, rush the castle, and all at once, and just get gunned down by those machine gun turrets.
Yeah. Well, I think the problem is that they're so hell bent on not having a leader and allowing everybody to do everything, which is fine, but you have to get to a point where it's like, okay, what is my enemy doing right now? And how is that going to affect me, and how is that going to take away from my moral code? And do I have someone that can help me kind of solidify our masses so that we can do what we need to do? And they're just not doing that.
Because if you notice with the state, they have 100% method and discipline. It's like, when they put the word out, hey, these are the talking points on every single network, they're all saying the same exact thing, no exceptions. And like all of their proxies everywhere in the media, they're all saying the same thing. They got the memo and they know how this works, and they just start talking the same way. As like, with libertarians, kind of like herding cats. It's like, come on, if you ever really want to, get somewhere, you're going to have to like get a real leader. And that leader needs to start enforcing method and discipline. A lot of them aren't going to like that. It's like, what do you mean you're going to method and discipline me? I'm a free citizen, and it's
right.
Like,
but they need to understand that in order to get to where they want to go, they need to have order, and they need to have discipline. It's just a simple fact. I mean, and it's proven by election after election, especially this last one where you had probably the worst 2 candidates.
This was pathetic.
It was ridiculous, and they didn't even beat Johnson in Weld.
Yeah, seriously,
and then a perfect opportunity to do so.
Yeah, I mean, you had the 2 most unlikable people, and you had 2 pretty decently good candidates as far as the Libertarian Party is going. But they have no order, no discipline, and you can't get your act together. Like, come on, man, this is what are you trying to get done? And now the newest thing is, we won't get to that yet. But what I want. Oh, actually, we're going to get to that right now.
Awesome.
That was the next one I had on I'm up at number 17 says, according to the circumstances are favorable, one should according as circumstances are favorable, one should modify one's plans, and and the next is all warfare is based on deception. It's like, I think that that one right there is famous. All warfare is based on deception. Yes. And like my thought right off the bat for that was, because I have kind of a rule, unwritten rule. I'm not sure who said it. I'm sure I'm not the first, but my paraphrase of it is, if you're going to be trying to beat the enemy, like you really, really want to go in and beat the state. You want to beat them at their own game. Like step 1, And you're a real radical. You're a libertarian radical. You really want to beat the state. Step one, shut up about being a radical. Don't tell anybody.
Right. And you know what? The funny thing about that is, and this is going to be off the topic of the art of war for a second. I mean, Harry Brown said this in his How to Live Free in an Unfree World, right? He specifically said, "Shut your mouth and just live your life, and they won't fuck with you." Right?
Yeah. Erickson says this a lot. Like the way you get the worst kind of state is you challenge their power and make them feel threatened.
Right, but my point is that like this. But my point is saying that like this aspect of the art of war is already in the libertarian circle by a presidential candidate of the Libertarian Party. So right there, I mean, it should be easy to kind of put two and two together with this one. But you're right. Shut your mouth. Don't trumpet the fact that you're going to try to fight the state when you have no one behind you.
Well, it's even worse than that. Like, look at what the left does. Like, they shut up about being radicals. It's like they have the like real hardcore communists elected to Congress repeatedly. And you know what? They never use the word. They never tell anybody. They just vote their beliefs. They know how it's going to work out, and that's good enough for them. And
not only do they not use the word, but they will flat out say, "No, that's not what I am."
Yep, exactly. The worst is like, not only do they say, I'm a good moderate. Not only am I not a radical, my opponents are the real radical. You want to talk about some real radicals? Talk about the right wingers. They're all Nazis.
Right.
It's like that. They all know exactly what to do. It's like all warfare is based on deception. And like Erickson says, this is politics is all warfare. It's just infinite warfare. And if you you need to treat it as such. This is so strategic. I mean, the alternative is, hey, we all draw battle lines and start shooting at each other. That's the alternative to democracy, which, by the way, that's not necessarily unpreferable, but
no.
Democracy is still pretty bad.
Yeah.
But hey, that's like the best thing you can say about democracy. Hey, at least they're not shooting yet.
Right,
not shooting each other yet.
But, exactly. There's one thing that kind of goes with what you said. That little part. I don't have the verses on my book, so I'm just gonna read it. It says, "When he is substantial, prepare against him. When he is substantial, prepare against him." They're not doing that.
Yeah, it's like
nobody's doing that.
It's like if like when he's strong, get ready. He's gonna come. It's like that's when they're when they're strong, when their backs because especially when they've been challenged. It's like that's when they're gonna come for you. It's like because literally that was what the right did just wrong on January 6th. And now, as much as I enjoyed watching that day and seeing all those assholes who locked us in our homes for a year, like it was nice to see them and gratifying to see them cowering in their little room. But you know what? It's like now now they are strong. All the protesters are gone and they're pissed. They're coming.
Exactly, and they're not going anywhere. They built up fences, and they're all protecting.
Apparently walls do work when they're around Congress.
Well, yeah, they work in most cases if you let them.
Yeah, and I think that this next one, because I have number 25 is a few low down. That these military devices. Yeah, we're going to go back after this, but I'm going to retrace a little bit. He says, these military devices leading to victory must not be divulged beforehand.
Right.
It's like, that kind of goes with like what we were saying earlier about like, all warfare is based upon deception and shut up about being a radical. Don't tell the enemy what you're going to do to him.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like if you have a brilliant plan of how to go and attack the media or and by the way, when I say attack, I mean non-violently.
Of course.
For all the feds listening. And but seriously, if your plan is, hey, I'm going to make some major substantial reform, or I have some brilliant plan strategic to, of how we can really roll back the state and, maximize individual liberty, don't tell the state ahead of time. Don't put that out in public. Get some people privately that you can trust. They're, good quality, that can help you get some funding, and to shut up. Do it quietly. Don't publicize that. That's like the worst thing you can do is tell the enemy your plan ahead of time. They're like, oh, so Dave, your plan, like Dave Smith. I love Dave.
Yeah, me too. I do. I really do.
Yeah, I really do love him. I'm kind of critical of him sometimes, but yeah, I really do love him. But like seriously, if your plan is to really start try to drive the narrative in 2024 when and you have the Mises Caucus and the Libertarian Party, and you're saying, hey, these are talk points, and we are all talking about it. We're going to get ourselves trending on Twitter every day. We are going to lead the discussion, whether the Democrats and Republicans like it or not. It's like, buddy, if that's the plan, shut up.
Yeah.
Don't tell them that, because now they know exactly who to censor.
That's kind of a tricky situation, though, too, because he's trying to build a movement and run it at the same time. You can't do both. I think he's looking at 2024. He should really be looking at probably 2028. Use this time to like gain momentum with your movement, and especially coming from as low as they are. I know that there's a lot of people that are on board and all that.
I can just see them doing it right now, because like we kind of see the media do this, like where they get the talking points and they're all on the same page immediately. And you know what? No one ever tells us, hey, here's the email. The email's going out, guys. We're supposed to all say this. No one ever says that.
Yeah.
And I guarantee that's exactly how the Libertarian Party is going to be doing it. Like, hey guys, public release. Here's the message. Here's the talking points, guys, and we're all saying this.
And then all that's going to happen is they're not going to get any views. They're not going to get any time to, it's going to really have to be how Dave always says that, like, the Ron Paul movement was the way that it was, but now we're in a different time that we're in the time of the internet, and like, we don't need like the media coverage and everything. He might be right about that. But the problem is the enemy is the one that controls all the things that are online. So it's like, even then you can't really do much about it without them, just pulling the plug on you. I mean, we've seen it how many times in the past year or more.
Yeah, I mean, like they really, have started to crack down. They didn't have systems back in 2016 to really stop Donald Trump, because
they didn't know that he was coming.
Yeah,
and they
had no idea it was that big of a system. They had no idea, but now they're like, oh man, we fucked up, and now we got this guy in here for 4 years, and he's just like spouting truth. Nobody controls him. Nobody knows what he's going to say. Trump doesn't know what he's going to say. And and that scares the bejesus out of them, because he'll just be saying, they're like, yeah, it really seems like some of these defense contractors really don't want to stop going to war. How about that, guys? It's like, shut up. It's like, like, oh my God, they must be so pissed about that. How many people in boardrooms do you think just went ballistic on him?
Yeah, I wonder how many like attempts on his life there were that we weren't told about.
I'm sure there were several. There has to be,
or at least plans. Like, hey, we got to shut this guy up. Can he like have a heart attack or something?
I mean, there was that one time that he went to the hospital and we had no idea why. No one ever talked about it. It's like CNN was right. That. Yeah. No, there was one time that his motorcade rushed him to the hospital in Washington, that military hospital. Something Walter Reed. Reed. Yeah, they rushed him there, and they had no idea why. No one ever talked about it. No one asked. It's like the media was like, they shut the fuck up afterwards. Yeah. And initially, like the CNN was their way, like, whoa, why is Donald Trump here? Why is Donald Trump here? And then nothing. Huh. No one, never, nothing else after that. It's like, he's fine, nothing to worry about. Go home. All right.
Get him next time, guys.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what they were thinking.
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, I'm pretty sure they had to have tried.
Yeah.
At least once. And and this is another one that I was, because there's like 4 of them in a row right here, and it's like actually like 5 of them, and I summarize these differently, but I'm going to go ahead and read them. Like, hence, when able to attack, we must seem unable. When using our forces, we must seem like we're inactive. When we are near, we must make the enemy believe we are far away, and when we are far away, we must make him believe that we are near. Hold out base to entice the enemy, feign disorder, and crush him. If he is secure at all points, be prepared for him. If he is in superior strength, evade him. If your opponent is of choleric temper, seek to irritate him further. Pretend to be weak that he may grow arrogant. If he is taking his ease, give him no rest. If his forces are united, separate them. Attack him where he is unprepared and appear where you are not expected to be.
Right.
And I kind of sum that up as, 1, always keep your enemy off balance. You know, whatever
Totally.
they think they want to do, you need to make sure that they don't get to do that. And because he goes on to make a point about this later, that like he had. Sorry, I just lost it. But he went on to whatever your enemy is, someone, a general who is skilled in defense is one whose enemy doesn't know where to attack, and a general who is skilled in offense, is one who has an enemy who has no idea where to defend. And that's what that kind of says to me, is you always need to be, keep your enemy off balance. Use his momentum against him. If he's wanting to do something to you, make him overdo it to you. If he's if he wants to do something else, you just make sure he's always going the wrong way. He's always being confused by you. And again, this is the importance of, don't tell the enemy your plan.
Right.
Because if the enemy knows how you think, and they know how you're going to be going after them, because they know what their plans are, like with the state. And if you were to tell them, hey, I'm going to abolish taxation, and my plan is X, Y, and Z with these particular districts and these people, and this is how we're going to do it. It's like, dude, they're going to be prepared for you. They're going to figure it out. You're
not even going to get to that point, because they're already going to, have their campaign against you well ahead of time.
Like, not only that, they're going to turn around on you where you're the one who's going to be off balance now, because now they know your plan, and they're going to, and because they know your plan, they know how to dissect it and turn it around on you. So that because now they're going to be, like if I were Twitter, what I would be doing is, whenever the instead of like the, Dave or whatever, or his guys getting to, push their talking points. Step one, they're censored. Step two, all the and critics getting amplified, because now I know who to do. Who's who, and I can tell which ones are which. Right. And if you had just done it quietly, this wouldn't have been a problem.
Exactly.
And it's so like there's just no way to keep your enemy off balance if he knows what you're going to do ahead of time.
Right.
Shut up about being a radical.
I mean, like I said before, I think the real problem is that the foundation is not there. The general is there. I mean, if you want to use Dave as the general, which I think he's a damn good one, he could be there. He could be the guy, but he's really got to get whip everybody into shape. There's one thing that we I think we need to talk about as far as the general goes, and that's actually prior to where the part that you just read. It's the 7 questions that a general must ask himself. Which ruler has? Well, my version's a little different than yours. Which ruler has the Tao? So the Tao will be the moral code.
Moral law. Yeah.
Which general has ability? Which attains heaven and earth? Which implements method and orders? Whose military and multitudes are strong? Whose officers and soldiers are trained? Whose rewards and punishments are clear? And if you know these, and if you have most of these in order, you don't have to have every one of them, but if you have more than the other guy, you'll do good. And that's the thing,
it's like those 7 is like, this is why a smaller force can beat a substantially larger force. Correct. If they have more of these qualities.
Correct. In tandem with the things that you were talking about, like, you got to keep it quiet. You have to get organized first. This is the main problem. We're starting with, like you said, it's like herding cats. So right there, that's the first problem. The second problem is we need a general to even get to the points that you were talking about. As far as I see it, there's still 2 things that they're very important things. The five constants of warfare. And then the 7 questions that the general needs to ask. We're not even at those points yet.
No, we're not. And it's again, like the number, again, the rule of having a sneak attack or an ambush. Don't yell sneak attack. And
unless there's a sneak attack behind the sneak attack.
Yeah. It's like all war is based on deception. And I read this right here as because I just had this conversation with Erickson the other day, and on which army is there a greater constancy in reward and punishment? And that really stood out to me because because he and I were just talking like, hey, if you're like, okay, let's say you have allies and you're being a typical libertarian and you feel the need to caveat all of your praises with criticisms. Right. Because you're a moderate, you're not one of them, and if I'm going to say God Emperor DeSantis is wonderful on like nearly every single issue, God bless him for keeping my home state free, except I don't like how he made the sales tax in Florida apply to all people equally. It's like all businesses equally, because that was one thing he did recently where. Sales tax had previously only applied to mom and pop shops and not to Amazon. And he passed a bill that says, okay, it applies to Amazon too. Like, it's a tax rate on Amazon. Those poor corporations. I'm like,
see, I'm in Illinois, so when they did that, everybody was happy here.
Yeah, and but I saw on Twitter they're like, oh God, DeSantis, he just raised taxes. It's like he's good, but he did raise taxes, so he's not perfect, and I can't go with him because of that, and that's why I vote LP or whatever. And I'm like, buddy, if you have allies, you need to be constant. Don't criticize, because criticism and praise are asymmetric in value. One criticism is worth far more than one praise. Orders of magnitude more, and when you're incentivizing people to be your allies. It's kind of like that other book. I don't know if you've read it by Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
No, I haven't read it.
This is one. If there was one book I wish I could give to every libertarian, it's that one, because it's the best for how to be a really, really likable person. It is like a really well put together instruction manual.
Yeah, libertarians sure need that.
Yeah, and it's like he says, like, number one, really compliment people. If they have something they really like about themselves, when you compliment them, they really, really love it. Yeah. And then don't criticize. It doesn't help. It does. What you do instead is praise them for something right and make them seek your praise. And Sun Tzu actually goes into this in order to say, hey, you need to make the men. So, you make the general needs to make his men seek his praise publicly.
Yes.
And he does, and he talks about this, I think, in chapter 2, and we'll probably get to that. But I'm reading this like, hey, where is the greater constancy and rewards and punishment, buddy? You need to be rewarding not just your people but your allies for being your allies. Yeah. That's so important. And knowing, and when you caveat, I give you 2 compliments and then I give you 1 criticism. Like, buddy, that is so counterproductive. You are not going to make people want to be your ally that way. It's like, for me, it's like I do my best to really stay away. But like, if I'm, trying to get something from somebody, shut up about criticism. They, I don't care if they smell like garbage. It's like, my God, I am going to be really super nice to them. I will find a way to compliment them. And I will not say anything about their body odor or their buck teeth or their pink hair.
If you really wanted to get to them, you'd start trying to smell like them.
What was that? Mimicry.
What kind of garbage do you sleep in? I want to be like you.
It was that imitation is like the greatest compliment or something like that.
Right.
There's some sort of
greatest form of flattery.
Yes, correct. And the thing is, like, that needs to be something you're constantly doing. That, like, if there's a method and discipline to the libertarian madness, that needs to be part of it. Is actively putting 100 times the amount of praises to your allies when they do something right. Then you do criticism when they're doing something wrong, and that's a lot easier with one side than the other. But we won't get into that. But the left is brilliant. It's going to be hard to avoid the left because they're brilliant at strategy. They really are. It's like for a bunch of Neanderthals and predators, they're brilliant. I have to hand it to them. They're the most brilliant bunch of knuckle draggers I've ever met.
Well, they have all the college educated people. It seems like it's kind of has swung in their favor. Most
because
of like the very smart intellectual types have figured out that the best way to keep their wealth is to say the right thing to the right people, and those right people right now are on the left.
Well, it's not just that. It's also easier to if you're doing if you're training dogs, it's a lot easier to train a smart dog than a dumb dog.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's what the left. That's what the left has on their side. A bunch of dogs.
Smart dog's not stubborn as well, which kind of goes hand in hand.
Yeah, very compliant. And that's another thing, because on the left, they're really good at handing out benefits. Like, you can fail your way to the top. You literally can fail your way to the top, and because they know how. And by the way, but if you step out of line, boom, they got you. It's like you are canceled. Do not step out of line. Yeah, and it is rigorous, and their punishments are rigorously enforced, and orthodoxy.
I don't want to say, they're definitely winning the game right now, as far as I see it, but they're by no means, the powerhouse that everyone thinks they are either, because there's people that are falling off their wagon left and right, specifically because there's some key elements to the art of war that they're failing with themselves.
Yeah, I mean, let's line the left up, because I want to ask these 7 questions about the left. What do you think? What do you think? Because we're sure the 2 sovereigns imbued with the moral law. Okay, neither. That's it.
Yeah. Well, it depends on if you want to call it a moral law. And
I was thinking like right and left. Yeah, right and left.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you to each of them, they do have the moral law, right? So the right thinks the right has the moral law, and the left thinks the left has the moral law, right? So when I look at this, what I think of more is in this regard is who's got their people agreeing with them more.
This is going to be a tough question. Question number 2. Yeah, question number 2. Which generals have the most ability?
Oh, God. I mean, I think it's pretty fair to say the left,
Yeah, but I mean, right now with Joe Biden.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, he's not.
Crazy Uncle Joe or Donald Trump. Which of the 2 is the better bad genius?
Well, I think they're both. They're both. I don't want to say equally bad or equally good, but they're like, I don't know. For me, like, Trump's strengths were just as good as Biden's strengths in the fact that they're different strengths, but they get their base going just the same.
Well, see, I see that more as both to do with Trump, is because all the left were not motivated by Biden; they're motivated by anti-Trump.
That's true. Now, but now, I mean, I don't know. Like, I had a guy today tell me that he was like, "Oh yeah, Trump's been pretty quiet." I'm like, well, the media and the left aren't trying to get him out of office anymore. They're not blowing him up like they were every day.
It makes a big difference.
It makes a huge difference. So, I mean, no, yeah, I guess, I don't know.
The advantages of heaven and earth. That's because I kind of divide this up into 2 parts. Earth, I would say, is the rules of the political system. Like, we live in a democracy, by definition, that's always going to be on the left. Like, that's Earth, and that is always going to be on the left. Yeah, it's always going to be like the left's advantage, because we live in a republic. The left is always going to have the advantage. But heaven is a different story, because I kind of see that as like the climate and the winds of change and how things kind of go back and forth.
Right. So the idea is like the order of the seasons and the opposites. Opposites
order of seasons.
Right. No, yeah, I think that I can't argue with that either. The left definitely has the upper hand there too.
I would say no. I think the winds are about to change, don't you? Because they go back and forth, almost on a decadal time scale. Is that we just got through? Like, we had about a decade of the right, and then we had about a decade of the left, and now it's we had a little bit of a surprise upset with Trump, and that kind of kept everything in the middle.
Right.
But I think we're about to break right again.
I do too.
I think it's breaking right.
I do too, slowly. And the reason for that is, I don't know. Did you want to keep going with these 7 questions?
Yeah, I love these 7 questions. This is perfect.
Okay, because yeah, all right. Well, I was going to allude to chapter 2 a little bit with the.
Go ahead. That's a great idea. Yeah.
No. I mean, I want to keep going with this if you want to, but anyway, like what I'm saying is like there's the how does one employ warfare, right? So for right now, we're having this long drawn out war, like social war, culture war, and people are starting to drop off of the left as far as I see it. I mean, even like the feminists that are going against like the trans rights, activists and all that. So I think this is a direct result of them making their war on these issues too long. And they're losing people's attention.
I know what the point you're going to make. Go. I'm not going to steal it from you. Go ahead and make the point.
Well,
that's an excellent point. That is an excellent point. I never even thought about that, but you're so right.
You go ahead and go ahead.
You want me to read it?
Absolutely. But I mean, that's what I see happening.
Oh, God. I love this. Oh, you just made such an excellent point. That is, oh, God. Okay, let me read the point that John just made without saying it. When you engage in actual fighting, if the victory is long in coming, then men's weapons will grow dull and their ardor will be damped. If you lay siege to a town, you will exhaust your strength. Again, if the campaign is protracted, the resources of the state will not equal the strain. Thus, though we have heard of stupid haste in war, cleverness has never been associated with long delays. There is no instance of a country having benefited from prolonged warfare. It is only one who is thoroughly acquainted with the evils of war that can thoroughly understand the very profitable way of carrying it on. A skillful soldier does not raise a second levy, neither are his supply wagons loaded more than twice. And the point you were just making there that, hey, this war from the left, that the culture war from the left has gone on too long. I think the same thing kind of happened in the 90s and 2000s. With the evangelical right. I was a little bit too young back then to really understand. I remember it, but it's like I didn't quite connect with the politics back then because I was like in the 2nd or 3rd grade. I was precocious for my age, but not that precocious. I think eventually it kind of just got tired, and they're like, "Let's go to the left." It's like we're done from the evangelical right trying to do it. Let's hear a little bit more from the evangelical left, and now they're both like, "Oh God, I can't stand these fucking hippies anymore." Right. And it's like I think that you may have just like solved a big problem for me. Why is it that we get like these back and forths? Because you can see it in the election cycle, and I kind of have a time preference explanation for that, which makes a little bit more sense, for that. But why the culture itself moves back, left, and right progressively? Why is that oscillate? I think you just nailed it here. It's because of a prolonged warfare. And
exactly,
people get tired of it. God,
I mean,
good point.
I don't know what more to say about it, but I definitely feel like that's the. Well, I mean, you can take that as the culture war, but you can also take that as the actual wars. And this is the other reason why I think that this state is could potentially on the downward spiral here, because part of prolonged warfare is not having money, right?
Yeah.
So we're kind of in that boat too, where like the actual state is going to be starting to lose money. I mean, we have been starting to lose money, with people not being able to work in the last year like they were, stores not being able to produce like they did in the last year. But then you also have the culture side of it, where a lot of people are just tired of this shit. Like, I'm not racist. I don't care who you marry. Leave me the fuck alone, and I'll leave you alone. And the people that were like originally, okay, yeah, I'm for all these, social things. Now they're like, wait, guys, you're kind of like, we've won. We have the government, we have the media, we have Hollywood, and we have academia all on our side. We've won this war. And
I wonder, is the right going to kind of learn its lesson and not overreach? Because that I think there's enough people alive today. Because I think what's happening on both sides is both sides have always overreached.
Yes.
And I'm wondering right now, is there enough restraint on the right to realize okay, it's the overreaching that seems to be the thing that does us in.
I don't believe I don't believe they
so?
learned that lesson.
Oh, man.
I really don't. I mean, I would like to say that they would, but right now, I mean, for years already, it's been a reactionary type political game, right? No one's actually pulling out their strategies. They're just kind of waiting to see what's happening on the other side, and then they're reacting to it. And I think for that reason, the right is probably probably not going to learn from the lesson, because the left is going in such a way right now that the right is actually going to try to pull back on it, and they're going to get to a point where that rubber band's going to snap.
Yeah, because I don't know, maybe because we're both in the trenches right now. Like, I have to ask the question because I'm thinking, like, God, the left controls everything. It's like, how are we ever going to come back from this? And I think you're probably right, though. We are going to come back, and we're going to come back to the point where we are the ones overreaching.
Yeah.
And for me, that sounds like a good problem to have. But
of course, I mean, you want your side to be the one doing it,
Exactly. But at the same time, it's like, all right, how do we get, they control Hollywood, the banks, all corporations, the government, the deep state, but like at least half of the states. What do we do?
All the important ones, anyway.
Yeah. All the big ones except Texas.
Right.
Knock on wood.
Yeah. Well, that's gonna, unfortunately.
Not if I have anything to do with it.
Yeah.
But but yeah. So I think you nailed it there. You absolutely nailed it. And I mean, I don't think there's even anything left in chapter 2 to say.
That's pretty much the best part of chapter 2 in my.
That's the best part. John just nailed it right off the bat, right there. And let's see. Chapter 3. Chapter 3, number 2. Hence, to fight and conquer in all of your battles is not supreme excellence. Supreme excellence consists in breaking the enemy's resistance without fighting.
Yes.
And like that to me, it says, okay, it should be our number one strategy. Remember how I was saying earlier, if you're a radical, shut the fuck up about it.
Yeah.
Don't tell anyone, and don't tell them your plans. It's like this should be your number one thing. Because if you don't challenge the state, if you don't get them mad at you, you don't make them feel threatened, you're not going to raise any alarm bells. And the idea should be that you need to find some way of inserting yourself into powerful positions and being able to carry out your revolution quietly.
Right.
Don't tell anyone, and because if you do, they're gonna fight you. Don't make them fight you, because you want not necessarily slow, but you want a quiet. Okay, that's like the number one thing. You need to have a quiet revolution while nobody's paying attention, and because
which is what they did.
Yeah, yes,
which is what the left did.
Mm-hmm. And it's like, but you also see this all the time with the media and Congress. Whenever the media is talking about some goddamn culture war issue, I'm like, what are they trying to pass in Congress right now that they don't want us to look at?
Exactly. Well, I mean, it's been proven time and again that's exactly what they do. They're like, all right, let's get these people fighting with each other so we can pass the thing to fuck them all.
Yeah, exactly. I'm thinking like, there's got to be some way that we can do this. There's got to be some way that our strategy as people who as Matt Erickson would love to say, love liberty. There's got to be some way that we can kind of pull this off quietly, without really raising warning bells, because that's the thing that really seems to get them is once they realize, oh my God, they got us, something's happened. Like when they got Trump in there, did they start caterwauling? It's like the media had kittens that day. And it's like that, like, boy, did that, they raise all the alarm bells. It's like, this is like red alert, system's gone wrong. We need to, all hands on deck. This is, something's gone horribly wrong with the system. And that seems to be the thing that sets them off. But if you don't tell them,
I mean, that just goes to like what Dave Smith always said about, Donald Trump was like that the establishment didn't hate Trump for the same reason that the average person hated Trump. You know, the average person hated Trump because he was racist, sexist, crass, whatever. The establishment hated him because he was disrupting their system. He was disrupting the order that they didn't ever see it coming, right? So that, yeah.
It's like they had priced in having Hillary Clinton. Like these single. Oh no.
Yeah.
John, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. We'll edit that out in post. That's fine.
Yeah.
And no connection problems. These things happen. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. We were just saying. Oh my God, they were about to have Hillary Clinton in there. And can you imagine going from we're about to have Hillary Clinton in there to Donald Trump? What?
Yeah.
And they, but that was the thing is that he broke their resistance with a lot of fighting. He didn't break the resistance. It's the fact that he was fighting them tooth and nail. That seems to be what really triggered them. It's like, that's it. And he goes on to say that thus the highest form of generalship is to balk the enemy's plans. The next best is to prevent the junction of the enemy's forces. The next in order is to attack the enemy's army in the field. And the worst policy of all is to besiege walled cities. Therefore, the skillful leader subdues the enemy's troops without any fighting.
Yes.
And because I was trained in cyber defense.
Okay.
And but what a hacker will do is they'll try to be as quiet as possible when they're searching your network and trying where everything is and what everything is, and they will be quiet. They don't set off alarm bells. They're kind of like a mouse tiptoeing around, getting ready to steal the cheese. Yeah. And they don't advertise themselves. They don't leave fingerprints. They do not leave calling cards. They don't say, "Hi, it was me. I did it. I want credit." They never do that. Yeah. Never, ever. No. And the ones who do get caught, like that's a real easy way to get caught, and they all know it. And these are the sharpest, smartest, wittiest, evil people, thieves that you can get. And and that's one. And but their MO is, I'm always going to break you without a fight. You're not even going to because it takes about 8 months on average for a big corporation to figure out that they've been hacked.
Really?
That's how long it takes. About 8 months is about the average time. And by the way, that's if they ever get
if they even realize it, right?
Yeah. And by then the hackers are long gone. And usually the way they find out is like, hey, isn't that our information on the dark web that's being sold? Like that's the way they find out, usually. And and they're like, oh God, we got owned. It's like, how did we get owned? It's like, oh, we'll look into it. We'll find out. And they really have to go looking to find out, how did we get owned?
And I'm sure depending on what it is and how much money they lose, they don't even give a shit.
Oh, right? Yeah. I mean, they have insurance for this. And, cybersecurity really helps because hackers tend to be lazy. They'll go for the low-hanging fruit. If you're the one who's, cutting the cybersecurity budget, you're next. It's like that. The people who are spending lots of money on cybersecurity, they get attacks, but none of them work, and most hackers aren't going to try. And it's like it's only the state level hackers that are really going to try. And let's be honest, you're not going to do anything to them anyway. So just buy insurance. And you buy security not for the state hackers. You buy it for the kind of more criminal cartels and stuff. But but their MO is, hey, you're not even going to know that you got owned until long after it happens. And I've just been thinking to myself, there's got to be some way that we as a movement, or just as high level, the more higher functioning libertarians who are kind of in the the same circle as like you, me, Erickson, and Adam and a few other guys.
Yeah, like, maybe Steve too.
Steve
Messina.
Liberal Steve. Yeah, he's there's got to be some ways for us to be kind of skulking around like that, where we can win and they're not even going to know we won. Right. And at least until it's far too late to do anything about it. Like that seems like the ideal situation for actually getting liberty done. Because I'm sitting there looking at a lot of these bills they pass, and I'm like, did they read that?
No.
And I'm thinking, like, did they read that before they voted into law? And I'm like, gee, you're telling me, like, God only knows what could be in there. And then I thought to myself, what's stopping me from doing the same thing?
Right.
You know? I'm thinking, like, hey, Rand, you know, if nobody's reading that bill, why not stick something about Bitcoin in there? You know, something nice and favorable. And, you know, some lobbyists will find it a year from now and be like, my bank, this is hurting my bank.
Yeah, but at that point, it'll be too late.
Yeah,
right? Just like the hackers.
Exactly. And, they find out it's too late and, sorry, no takebacks. You voted on it. I'm sure. Then like, hey, do you want my solution? The Read the Bill Act.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, if this is the, you just know when Rand put that one forward that, hey, it's like they know it's over. If we have to do this Read the Bill Act, they all know it's over. That there's no way we can continue this game with it.
Okay,
we
so
have to read the bill.
That Read the Bill Act, I think one of the arguments against it was that, do you know how long these bills are? No one could ever read. Like, we wouldn't be able to. Like, doesn't that tell you that maybe they're too fucking long? Like, should they be that? Should they be that hard for you to, like, I don't know. That's just common sense that people don't think about. They hear.
Have you ever like cracked open one of these big bills?
Yeah.
It's like let me tell you guys, for those of you who haven't, if you've ever cracked open a bill, they read like gibberish because like you can't tell, and you can have like strike line of USC code this and strike this word in that sentence. That's it, and you don't know anything else. And no context, nothing, and you have like pages and thousands of pages of stuff just like that where you have no context, you have no idea what this is doing. It's just striking a word here or there or replacing a word, and you have no idea.
Yeah, I always like anytime I read a bill, I just like kind of skim through it, and like see like if a word catches me, then I'll be like, okay, let me read this section, because it's fucking boring. Number one, number two, like you said, it's so hard to like follow and read. And it's like, number three, it's not my fucking job to read this thing. Technically, I guess it could be because, I should be an informed citizen and everything. But,
there's no way to do that.
No, there's not. Not the way to do it.
The way they shove these bills through, and like everyone has got some pet project in on it.
Right.
But I see that, and I think to myself, there's got to be some way we can use that.
Yeah.
This thing has potential. I was like, maybe this isn't such a bad thing, and we should figure out some way to do something about that.
Yeah, I think they need to start. They need to start using the progress, not perfection. Mantra.
Yes. That's how you break the enemy without them fighting. It's if you go too fast, if you go too loud, that's going to trigger alarm bells, and they're going to start getting mad.
Right. Unless you hold all the reins of power, then you can just be as loud as you want to, But I don't think anybody's there yet.
Well, even then, it's like, Donald Trump had that for like, maybe 2 years. Really fucking.
Yeah, but.
Boy, did that not work out for him.
No, it didn't. Because he was too stupid to realize, the stuff that really mattered. Like, I didn't like Trump hardly at all. But there were a couple things that I did like about him. But he was too dumb to realize that the power that he had, like, hey, dickhead, you're the fucking president, do something,
I think we can sum this up right here, because I think you just got to like the very number 18. Hence the saying, if you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. If you know yourself but not the enemy, for every victory gained, you will also suffer defeat. If you know not the enemy nor yourself, you come in every battle. I think you just summed up Donald Trump right there. Didn't know the enemy, didn't really know himself, and he got his ass kicked.
Yeah, well, that was actually one of the parts that I have highlighted too, because that's actually I would say that is probably my most quoted aspect of this book when I talk to people about it, is that one right there, because it's just 100% correct. There's no two ways to split that, where you could be like, well, no, if you look at it this way, then he's not really right here. No, he's 100% right in everything. Know yourself and know your enemy. You don't have to worry.
Yes, yes. And because I kind of paraphrased this the other day, but with a quote from my favorite book, Ender's Game, or my favorite sci-fi novel, I should say. I have a lot of favorite books. I've read a lot of them, but the Ender's Game is fighting off aliens, and anyways, it's the protagonist Ender. He says at one time, it's like, the reason I can defeat all of my opponents is because I love them, and by love them, I mean I really understand them the way they understand themselves. And I feel like when you understand people, when you really understand them the way they understand themselves, how can you not also love them the way they love themselves? Because that should be a marker. Now, that should be an indicator to you that you really understand them the way they understand themselves, is that you have some feelings for them, and they're kind of like, you get it. But in knowing how to, he goes on to say, I'm still quoting him, but he goes on to say, and is it in loving them that I know exactly what I need to do to defeat them, because I understand them that way. I understand them that much. And I'm thinking to myself, boy, that's deep, and boy, does that makes sense. I know it's just a sci-fi novel, but boy, does that make sense.
It's still some good stuff.
If you can't really look at, and by the way, left can't do this at all, which is this is their greatest weakness, is that they do this. It's like they understand themselves pretty well, kind of. They have a very functional working. It's not a perfect understanding of themselves. God help them if they ever got that. But it's a functional work. It's a functional level. Like they understand themselves enough that they can make this thing work. And but they don't understand themselves. They don't understand their enemy at all.
Yeah.
I think that therein lies a major weakness. Like, they can be that's if there is one major weakness of the left, is that they don't understand the right. They don't get it. And the right does kind of get they get it kind of, but not really. And that's
they get it. So the right gets it from they understand what it is that the left is trying to do. Right. But I think where the right kind of takes away from this is that they don't really understand the experience of the left. They understand where the left is coming from, and they understand why they think the way they think. But I don't think they understand the experience.
Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
So, for instance, like, and this is not for everybody, because I know this is going to be kind of different, but we'll talk about, for instance, like the race issues. A lot of people don't on the right have never been
they never got stopped
like stereotyped. There's something, right. I mean, and I'm not saying that obviously this is not everybody. I understand this, but I think by more
there's
people
a different experience there.
There's a very different experience there, and I think that's the aspect that the right needs to understand more if they really want to kind of change minds on the left, is that they're like
weapon.
Right. Well, and I mean, it's something that you should do. Just like you need to understand your enemy, you need to love your enemy in order to defeat them. Now, when I'm saying defeat them, I'm not meaning defeating them. I'm meaning turn them over to our side. This is what and I'm probably.
But hey, worst case scenario comes, that you need to make sure you win so they can go out of a helicopter.
Potentially. There's always that option.
Politically.
There's always that option. But that's what I'm saying. I mean, I think there's a lot of I'm talking about like the very bottom of both the very bottom as far as class goes in both the right and the left have pretty similar experiences.
Yeah,
right?
They do.
As you go up the ladder of
that shit gets different. Yeah,
it gets way different, and I think that's where like the disparity is in a lot of instances, because the people that are the right, the people on the right that are like, well, no, the world's not racist, and this isn't, and poor people don't have this, that, bad. You don't know because you've never fucking been there, so you can't say that with unequivocal proof. Just like statistics can say what they say. What you want them to say, but like to actually be there and see something and experience it the way that someone else does, especially your enemy, is to really understand what you need to do and how you need to talk to them in order to make things.
Because this is something that really was interesting to me, because I thought about this for a long time. It's like, how is it that millions of people can have, from all walks of life, different states, they can have the same exact two different sets of experiences, regardless of where you go. Right. And I was thinking about, like, how can this be the case? And the conclusion I came to, because blacks are pretty insistent that, oh yeah, white people really have a racism problem, and then because I grew up kind of in like a little like more like the exurbs, not quite suburbs, but more like exurbs. It was I was around farmland. Like there was quite a lot of farmland around me, but there's also a decent amount of civilization too. And the it was like an exurban community in Florida, and it's like I never saw it. It's like I always kind of knew, like, okay, there's got to be some, there's some around here. I'm sure there is. I'm probably just not seeing it. And but I could see, like when I went to college, I had like all black roommates. Somehow I was like the one white guy who got stuck with all black roommates, and they were insistent, like this, no, it's a real thing. And I got to be thinking, like, these guys all grew up in cities. I get it, and it really hit me one day. The reason that they really believe that white people are racist is, in fact, because the white people they live around are white liberals. They're like, no wonder, I get it now. It's like where do white liberals live? Also in urban areas, next to black people. No wonder black people think all white people are racist. I think the white liberals are racist too. Like, I think they're a bunch of condescending assholes. And
I won't disagree with that.
And it finally hit me one day. The reason is because of where they live, and and they're probably right. Because think about it, millions of people can't both be wrong, even if they're saying mutually exclusive things. Right. Probably not. Something's right. Something's missing in there, and I was really trying to get it and trying to put myself in their shoes and think, gee, how would I live if I were there, and why would I think that? And it finally just hit me one day. It's because they live next to white liberals. That's why. And that's why they think whites are racist. It's because the vast majority of the whites that they see are in fact racist.
Right. But they don't call themselves as such, but they most certainly are in a lot of instances. The way they act.
Shut up, minority, let me save you. Let the white woman speak up for the black man. Shut up, Mr. Black Man, let the white woman speak for you.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Exactly. I mean, that's what it is. Let me tell them I have the power. It's like, well, no, you're the only reason you have.
I have the privilege, right? The white privilege to be able to speak for you.
How about you give this guy the privilege to fucking talk for himself?
I'm sure he's got worse to say. He's probably got a lot of opinions about that subject. But this is one area where I say liberals really don't know themselves, because they always, they never ask themselves, maybe I'm the villain.
Right. No one ever looks at themselves as a villain. I mean,
to some degree, right winger to some degree has some like, what if I am the bad guy? They've asked themselves that question, no, I've reasoned my way out of this. I'm pretty sure, I'm not. I really am trying to do the right thing and be responsible. I'm trying not to do, have these unintended consequences, and that's why I have a little bit more of a stricter, thought-out policy. And the Democrats, nope. I believe in good.
Yeah,
that's their level of analysis.
That's exactly what it is. Like they've convinced people that Democrat equals good and Republican equals bad, right? But that's just not the case. I mean, you can't.
And where would we be if we didn't mention libertarians in this right now?
Yeah, well, libertarians are. I don't know how. I don't know what to classify them in that.
Gosh, I know, me neither. Because no, well, I'm thinking do they know themselves? Kind of. Do they know the enemy? Kind of. It's like. It's like there's some ways where libertarians are really, really good at being descriptive of the problems of the state. They're really, really good at describing it. Prescription, I think, is a different thing. What to do about it? Like at that point, they go off the walls. Just crazy. Yeah. This is why we have to do this,
right?
Because their prescription of what to do about it seems completely divorced from the reality of the state. Like I was making there was a point being made on Phil Bishop's Twitter the other day about hey, someone was arguing. No, the problem, their problem of corruption is too insurmountable for us. And I made the point that, the counterpoint, well, gee, if you're saying that their power is quite literally for sale, why not just make the purchase? It's a different way of thinking, but it's like what to do about that. It seems like they really are good at describing the state and understanding what exactly it's doing and why.
Yeah.
But what to do about that, it's like they completely do not have that. That's level true. Of what to do about it, just not there at all. And they seem like they understand themselves pretty decently well too. But not.
I think they might understand themselves very well, but I don't think they understand people's interpretation or experience of them.
That's there well. It is.
Because they understand themselves so well that they're not afraid to be themselves, but they're not. They just.
But it seems like they don't understand other people though. Why other people have that attachment to the state, and it's not so much as know your enemy, but you got to know your allies and know your audience, and you got to know all these other different groups who aren't necessarily your enemy, but they very well could be.
Yeah.
And it seems like they really have no understanding there.
Yeah.
And this is another kind of point I've had to make repeatedly. Like there was on Twitter today there was another libertarian who said, hey, there are two kinds of libertarians. One who says people are good and don't need to be governed, and the other says that people are fundamentally evil and should not be given power.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm in camp number 2. But I kind of object to the word giving because you're not giving it to them. It's like you're giving power to the state in the same kind of sense. You're giving them your taxes. You don't really have a choice.
Yeah, exactly. You have no choice. No choice. No say in the matter.
It's like you didn't. It's like that's the thing. It's like evil people don't ask for your permission to give them stuff. Give them power. It's like they kind of take it by force. That's kind of what makes them evil.
Yeah.
And and the guy still didn't kind of get it. He's like, well, you still can't, some people to be, the people have to go along with it. I'm like, yeah, they're going along with it because it's helping them be evil. That's why.
Right.
People are fundamentally evil, and they create states because they are fundamentally evil to help facilitate them continue to be fundamentally evil.
Right.
And you're not giving anything to them. They're evil. They're taking it by force, and it's like, I could kind of see the wheels in his head turning.
Yeah,
I was like, ooh.
It's funny because I'm kind of in the camp of like most people are good people.
Mm-hmm. We'll agree to disagree, but
no, I definitely, I'm not. I don't know. I like to feel that most people are good people.
It gives you hope,
Well, it's not even that. It's just I'm kind of I've always been like a half full kind of guy, and that just. But I feel like most people are good people, and then you have a bunch of shitty people. That's just what it is. And then the good people can turn shitty based on the shitty, if the shitty people are allowed to continue to be shitty. Right. So it kind of like, I don't know if that makes sense to you or not.
Yeah.
I think you start off good.
I think we're kind of saying similar things. Let's see if I can rephrase this in a way that, you agree with. I think about 40% of people are real evil, about 40% real evil. And probably another 40% that are 30 to 40% they're kind of in the middle. They're kind of like a little bit of both. They're lukewarm, and then there's like a 20 to 30% finally that are like fundamentally good. And there's not you're either good or evil. There's a little bit of gray in between.
Of course,
it's not just a little bit of gray. It's actually like quite a lot of gray, and so it's like okay, the vast majority are not good. a majority are not evil. You know what I mean?
I see what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's pretty cool. I think the percentages can be worked with on my end a little bit, but I agree, more or less with what you're saying.
I think that's a better way of saying that, because I think I'm coming from, and I think what you're saying also makes sense. I think we're about saying pretty close to the same thing, and we may disagree a little bit on the percentages, but that's not a big disagreement.
I think what for me the bottom line is like you're clean. The clean slate is good. You were born, when you're born, you are good. And then as the bad people, the evil people are able to do what they will, that will kind of push you either bad or, kind of make you want to be good. It's kind of like if you've dealt with something in your life that was like such a horrendous thing that you were able to escape it. And you were finally able to escape it, and you never have this in your life anymore. And then you turn around and have the same possibility, like you could do the same thing to someone else, and you know how horrendous that was for you. You're either not going to do it, or you're going to do it because you want retribution, right?
Yeah, you want to spread the pain. You kind of want you kind of want that. And then, Matt was saying some stuff about this earlier, because we had this kind of debate about he and I had a debate about free will. And
I saw that.
Yeah, I think you pressed like on quite a few of both of us, and it was a good discussion, because I think we came up saying about the same thing, where we kind of agreed that, hey, you're not quite tabula rasa, you're not quite a blank slate, because you're born into a certain set of conditions that really is going to predetermine quite a few outcomes. Like you don't have total control over your destiny, but you have quite a lot. But there is some degree of predetermination. If there are 1,000 possibilities, you may only really be able to choose between 10 or 20.
Right.
Let's say the entire spectrum of possibilities was 1,000. You might realistically only have the choice of 20.
Right. Because you can only choose what's given to you. So you can kind of say that.
And if you're in kind of the God, shit hits the fan like 5 minutes after you're born, it's like you really can only expect so much out of like that kind of guy, and like that kind of person can only really I just lost my train of thought, but
I see what you're saying. You can expect certain outcomes based on certain preconditions. But you can't. Like for me, I wouldn't lose hope on anyone until given a real concrete reason to give up on somebody.
I think to tie this back into the final verse of what we were saying is you need to be able to understand those people. Empathy is a weapon. You need to have empathy, and you need to be able to say, okay, this person came from a real shit place in life, and they were kind of fucked right from the beginning, and you got to have some sort of allowance for that, and you got to be able to understand them the way they understand themselves. And you don't have to agree with them, and you don't even have to necessarily be nice to them, but you do need to understand them, so you know exactly how to deal with them, because it's going to be a combination of different strategies. And if the right is ever going to win, it's because they learn to be empathetic towards the left. And that's exactly what I did to figure out like the laws of archotropism. I really had to study the left and try to really put myself in their shoes and try to imagine and see what they're seeing in order to really derive them. And once I figured out that when they say value, they're talking about like the value of wealth.
Yes.
And when they say that that's fixed, and it is, what they mean is its value as power. It's not its value as money or economics or fiscal or anything like that. It's its value as power, because that is and once you see that, it's like the light bulb went off, because everything about archotropism kind of extends from that one thing that power is a fixed pie. Yeah, it really is. And and it's like that was when I'm like, oh, that was the light bulb moment for me. Is that when they're looking, they're not seeing money or wealth for its economic value. They're seeing it for its power value,
right?
And that's the value of it as power, and that's why they really do think it's a fixed pie. That's why they have such a instinct and drive to really crush productivity, because that hurts them. And that spreads out the power, and now they have to go reconsolidate it again.
Yeah.
And they think they only feel safe if they have all the power that they need to really defend themselves with. And if other people who are not left-wingers have that power, they feel threatened by it just inherently. And and once you understand just that, really, you can really start to empathize with the left. You really start to understand the enemy. I think when the right is finally able to really fully understand the left, that's when they're going to win. And and if the left can ever manage to understand the right, God help us all.
Yeah,
because I don't think they're going to get converted. I think they're going to be, I think that's the most dangerous possible outcome, is when they really start to understand the right. Yeah, if that ever happens, I don't think it will.
Well,
but
I mean, in either regard, you're going to find some kind of equilibrium. If it's this way or that way, if it's the right understanding the left or the left understanding the right, there should be a possibility of equilibrium.
Possibly. It's like,
I mean, you can't rule it out, is what I'm saying. I'm not saying that it's a definite outcome, but you can't say that that's not a potential possibility.
It's like potential outcome. I think a kind of an equal possibility, possibly more likely, is if they both started to really understand each other, it would mean mutual annihilation.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's where me and you are different. I'm the half full, being like, yeah, maybe everyone will get along, and you're like, no, everyone's fucked.
Yeah,
I don't know which way it's gonna go. I know which way I want it to go.
Yeah, me too.
But it's not,
We agree on that. No, that there's a saying in cybersecurity that paranoia is a virtue, and it's one of the cardinal virtues of cybersecurity is paranoia. And
see, I don't have that.
It's like you have a little bit more of a skeptic's attitude, and they trust but verify naturally by default, or worse, as distrust by default.
Yeah,
and that's a common saying, is distrust by default. And I think that's definitely my cybersecurity training definitely changed the way I see things. You don't see things quite the same way after you've really studied the way hackers think. It's like it's a completely different mindset, where you don't look at something, you don't look at a phone and say use this. A hacker will look at that and say, how can I misuse this? And someone else might, they look at a system, they say, how does this system work? And hackers more like, how can I make this system work?
Yeah.
What can I do to make it work differently? It's completely different mind. And once you've kind of seen that, once you've kind of trained yourself with empathy to think like that, it's like you can't quite unsee that, And it's like, gosh, I hope you're right, though, that it would not mean mutual annihilation. It would actually mean that they would get together and agree on a reasonable, moderate center where they can just go bankrupt our grandchildren and bomb some third world countries.
Well, hey, we're already halfway there. We're bankrupt and we're bombing third world countries. So there's
some reasonable moderates.
Yeah.
And, anyway, hey, John, it has been so good. I can't wait to do the next 3 chapters with you.
Yes, sir. I agree. It's been good. It's been fun. Thanks for having me.
It's been fun. This is I've been with Jon Hartmann from Mind Your Business podcast. You can find him. Where can they find you?
Just you got my Twitter up there. Also, it's Twitter at Jon_Hartmann, and then Mind Your Business with Jon Hartmann on YouTube.
Thank you, guys. I am Andrew with Popular Liberty _ on Twitter, and if you found me here, then you know where to find me. All right. Have a nice night. See you, John.
All right. See you.